Hello and welcome to another Warcraft the audio commentary casting shoutcasting thing of sensations, and I'm gonna have to come up with an introduction one of these days that actually makes sense, and then I will use it excessively until it doesn't make sense, because that's what I do. So this is a best of 5 between Lyn and Remind in the HiNice Cup. So happy to bring these games to you guys today. I'm going to hopefully have all of them up by the end of the day, and that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and introduce the players. We have Remind spawning as the red night elf in the top, and in the bottom we have Lyn spawning as the blue orc. Also, if you haven't heard, I just want to go ahead and introduce a nice little bit of fact for everyone who is going to be excited about this, hopefully. we.pepsi.ted is back. That's right. Ted is back to Warcraft 3. He came out of retirement just a couple days ago. The announcement hit publicly from World Elite, literally just like, I think maybe yesterday or something. Very exciting news. I can't wait to bring more Ted replays. I did bring a Ted replay not too long ago that was him messing around, but he's back to it. He wants to actually do this professionally again, so pretty exciting stuff. Very exciting. Everyone should be pretty happy about that. And let's see. Okay, into the game, we do see that we do have the Demon Hunters basically doing the AOW creep, what you expect. Over here for Lyn, we see the Blade Master coming in here, creeping this pretty much pretty mirror in terms of creeping patterns at the start, and just pretty much what you would expect. We see the Wisp scouting here, and we can see that there was oh, never mind, I thought I saw a peon up here. No peon, but pretty much I imagine that Lyn knows what Remind is doing there. It's really standard, and so yeah, yeah. That's basically about what's going on. See, does he have a shop out? He does not actually have a shop anywhere on the map from what I can tell. I do not see a shop for Lyn, which is a very interesting choice. As you can see, he's taking quite a bit of damage here. So this harass is going to come in from Remind. There's the shop finally going up. Could be a little bit hurtful, but it looks like he's going to be fine. He does have 2 grunts versus just a demon hunter and an archer. Really not a huge deal, I don't think. We can see that he's going to go ahead and go in here, maybe buy another circlet after he sells his TP. Pretty standard way to play that, yeah. And he also grabs dust, and that's useful because, one, if the Demon Hunter decides to come up here to get the dust for the Blade Master, he won't be able to, and also it's good to have dust against archers. And we can see down here, it doesn't look like he was doing anything right there with the Demon Hunter, and here we can see that the harass is going off onto the Moonwell, forcing a Moonwell cancel, which is pretty big to go to a Moonwell cancel right off at the bat. As you can see, there was Remind does like to go ahead and get to the 5 Moonwells if he can, and I think part of that is because he's afraid of the harass and he doesn't want to get supply blocked at all. Furthermore, though, it's also nice just to have them to be able to block off your mine when you bring up your Ancient of War at some point in the future. And he did go ahead and kill that archer, and I think I might have missed that. That's my bad. He did use the dust. I heard it happen, so you might have heard it happen. I think these wisps are probably, it looks like they're all in spots where the Demon Hunter, except for this one maybe, where the grunts and the Blade Master would be unable to actually attack them, and I think that's why we didn't see them being attacked, and why we saw Lyn just walking away after killing the archer and canceling the Moonwell. So pretty good play by Lyn nonetheless. However, also a pretty good play by Remind to prevent that from becoming a much worse harass by placing his acolytes in the right places. We do see the boots on the Demon Hunter and also on the Blade Master as well. That means, and you have dust on the Demon Hunter, which means he went to this shop down here, and we can see that up here. Pretty much a little bit of harass going on. A shop going down. I think that this right here is still open. It might not be for 2 unit wide units, which is basically heroes are 2 units wide, grunts are 2 units wide. I believe archers are, and I think archers are 1 unit wide. I'm almost positive. I know dots are. So if that is 1 unit wide, then that's good. Wisps are a unit wide, and as you can see, a wisp can get through there. But the Demon Hunter obviously cannot. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe wisps are smaller. I don't know. That's odd. I don't remember. You know, having a brain fart here. Normally, I know these things like the back of my hand, and then all of a sudden, I just don't quite remember. Anyway, we see this demon, the Blade Master taking quite a bit of damage. The Blade Master is gonna go down. The Blade Master dies. He was blocked by his own grunt. Took a hit from the Tree of Ages, which does, as you can see, 49 to 60 damage before the Wisp started to be building there. A huge amount of damage, and there was nothing the Blade Master could do to get out. He didn't have enough mana to Windwalk. He had been mana burned right at 72 mana, I believe, is where he was at. and when he got mana burn, so he could not windwalk, which requires 75 mana. Here we can see this grunt being chased down. He's going to die because there is a boots of speed on the blade on the demon hunter, and he's going to probably try to suicide and deny, so the demon hunter does not get XP, and that's exactly what he does. And over here we can see that Remind doing pretty well in this game. The grunts coming back in. There's 3 grunts going to try to cancel something if they can, or just do some kind of something, or maybe they were just trying to run away from the side of the map where the demon hunter is on. However, they probably could have ran down that way if they were interested in doing that, so it's probably not why they probably were just trying to get, maybe they were trying to pull the demon hunter back to their base. I'm not really sure, but either way, we do see them running away from the Beastmaster right now. We do see over here the demon hunter and this AOW are creeping out this little creep camp here, and we can see there are some quilbies coming in as well as the Beastmaster. And if we look back over here to the Orc base, we can see that the Blade Master is about to be out. He's right back out, and the Tauren Chieftain is about to come out as well. And we can see Ensnares being researched. The Spirit Lodge is down. And we have the burrow placement, which is actually quite a nice little placement of the burrows. I like that. If the elf comes in to harass, he's going to have an interesting time harassing that safely. It's not going to be very easy. He'll have to be open while he harasses it, or he'll have to run into the orc base, which is not something you generally want to do. So it's a nice placement there. We can see that this is an attempt to creep here. One of the things that's really difficult about this creep, as you can see, is that only 2 units can get in there if you just do your regular attacks. So it requires a little bit of micro to get more units in. Normally you want to pull them out, those gnolls out here a little bit if you can, so that you can have more units attacking them or higher efficiency while you creep it. This was crapped out, it looks like, by the elf, or no, he just pulled the creeps, and maybe that was just to get that wisp back in there, or he might have killed something. He might have killed the big creep there, and you can see, I think he did in fact, because you can see he has the Book of the Dead, which summons 4 skeleton warriors as well as 4 skeleton archers, which is a lot of stuff, and we might see them being used right here. Yes, we do. We see them being used onto the burrows, and unfortunately, I don't think Lyn was expecting that particular bit of thing to happen. It is quite a bit of damage on these burrows, and unfortunately, that actually worked out pretty much perfectly for Lyn right there, and he's already done pretty well in this game. He's managed to kill the Blade Master. I think he's killed a grunt, which is 200 gold, and now he is losing 2 burrows, and this is a 3rd one that's about to go down, and forcing Remind to TP out. Unfortunate for Lyn. That will supply block and put him down to 20 HP. I think we might have just saw the Beastmaster. The Beastmaster went down, the Beastmaster dying. That's not good for Remind, but he's probably still in the lead right here. We can see that the Blade Master is level 3, in fact, with 3 circlets and a boots of speed. So a very, very buff Blade Master right here. If we look over back to the elf space, we can see that he is tier 3. He has dots, and the Master Research is on the way. And his Demon Hunter is almost level 3. The Beastmaster is coming back out from the altar. Pretty good standing for Remind, but Lyn is definitely making up for his early mishaps in this game. Doing pretty good, got himself right back into a great position here. If we look back, you can see his burrows are coming right back up, and soon he'll be able to start producing units again. And he's not too concerned, I don't think, because he is basically researching stuff right now. As you can see, these guys coming back in for the harass. He's forcing Lyn to go ahead and burrow a peon to do some damage here and to try to help do something. They might actually be able to cancel this burrow. However, it looks a little bit unlikely because there are 4 peons in these burrows, so actually that probably won't happen. However, otherwise they might have been able to, given their timed life, was still plenty enough probably to get that down. But good job by Lyn, good job by Remind for forcing a little bit more harass with those guys. And we can see back over here, you can see the Hawk being used here, which is basically going to allow him to see invisible units, and that mainly is the Beastmaster, which means he can get a Fairy Fire off as well as various other things. And here you can see the Fairy Fire going off when he broke on one of the dots, and he's going to be forced to run away, and he has not enough mana to really get another Windwalk off. He was burned, but it only took 20 mana, so that's a good burn for the Orc, really, because you don't want to get burned for 100 mana. Getting burned for 20 mana is much better. One of the burns going off onto the Tauren Chieftain right here. We see some Cyclone. Cyclone on the Blade Master. Keeping the Blade Master in the air is very important. We see him going right back up in the air. The orb is on the Demon Hunter, and there are Spirit Link out on Orc units. So generally at this point you want to be spreading your orb damage to many units. That way they all take extra damage from the orb. Although it's not the only way you can do things, but we do see this Blade Master pretty much only being able to get a couple of attacks off before being cycloned again. Lots of cyclone on him, which is good for a couple of reasons. Not only does it cyclone him, but it also dispels him. So if he does have a Spirit Link on him, it's like there's one less unit in the Spirit Linked army for the Orc. And that's one of the great things about having lots of things going on. We also see these raiders keep getting ensnared. The Beastmaster getting ensnared after a dispelled cyclone on the raider and being picked off, which is not good for Remind. So Remind's position just kind of got a little bit precarious at this point. He was pretty good and then lost it a little bit. Now he's kind of probably a little bit in the underdog at this point. Lyn doing a great job in this game, absolutely great. We can see that the Blade Master is over here coming in with the healing scroll. The Tauren Chieftain being cycloned, he might get surrounded here and he might not. We'll see what happens. The Druids of the Talon are pretty much hugging this tavern right here. And they're basically doing that. When you can buy that, we can see the Tinker has been bought. We see a Dispel going off to get those heroes back down on the ground, running away if they can. And we do see the Blade Master is surrounded, yet it is about to be surrounded. I mean, he is now surrounded. In fact, the Demon Hunter taking a lot more damage than he really wants to, running away now and being ensnared and being focused down by this Blade Master. The Blade Master going back into the air. We can see that the Orc army is being forced to retreat a little bit. We do see peons out on the map. Basically, you generally have those being used for extra Spirit Link. However, in this case, they're just going to be picked off and slaughtered as the Orc had to retreat. And we might see the Demon Hunter dying here if he gets ensnared right here. And he does get ensnared. However, the Orc army did back off because it would have been just the Blade Master and the Raider right there. And you can see that the rest of the Elf army is right here surrounding one of the Raiders and finishing it off. And we do see that the Demon Hunter has been staffed back to base, and he's going to go ahead and use those Moonwells to heal up a little bit. And back here in the back of his base is a shop, so he's going to go ahead and maybe come over here. He looked like he's going to buy something. I'm not sure what he wants to buy, if anything. In fact, he decides not to buy anything and to run back over here. Run back to his army, I mean. And we can look and see that if we look at the food supplies, we can see that it's 47 out of 50 for the elf. And as you can see, that's a very big army of dots. That's a lot of dots if you get to 50 food dot. And while for Lyn, we only have down at 40 supply. So he is a bit down. And we can definitely see that this isn't the greatest position for Lyn in terms of army count, but he's done pretty well. And I would say that he might actually be at the advantage here. I'm not sure. It's a very close game so far. And we do see level 3 on both of these heroes. A really nice item for the Tauren Chieftain. It is a Mana Stone, which is, of course, very great because it gives you 25% mana regeneration, and it also works as pretty much I believe, a Greater Mana Healing Potion, because when you use it, it gets 300 mana. So that's very nice. We just see some creeping going off on both sides for these guys. What would be a lot better for the Elf right now, for Remind, is if he actually was able to get higher levels on those heroes. Of course, hero levels are very valuable. But having a level 3 Tinker, for example, as well as a level 3 Beastmaster, that's a pretty big deal. Especially for the type of fighting these army compositions do, where they just have these long, kind of exaggerated fights with lots of Cyclones and lots of Spirit Links and units just running away, lots of micro. They're very entertaining to watch, but it's definitely nice to have those extremely strong little factory workers coming out from the Tinker, and it's nice to have the more powerful Quill Beast from the Beastmaster. It's a lot of damage that the Elf doesn't really have, because they're kind of relying a lot on really the Demon Hunter for that damage, simply because of the fact that he has the orb, he has that high base agility. It has a lot of damage coming out from him, just from that insane melee damage. As you can see, he actually has a healing scroll as well as a potion of invulnerability, which will allow him to stay in the fight longer. And if we look at the Beastmaster, he does have a Scrown of Town Portal, sorry, tipping over my words here. And we have him with Sentry Wards. Sentry Wards are very good, and they last 5 minutes each, which is quite nice. And we can see this Tinker being very close to level 3. If he does get level 3, I think it's going to be a very hard fight for Lyn, who is only 4 or 3 on his heroes. However, that Tauren Chieftain is also very close to level 4. We can see Remind is slowing down an expansion over here. And he has a scout, basically a scout word right here that it looks like it's been gone for maybe almost 2 minutes now. And it's basically just going to allow him to see if Lyn decides to go ahead and throw up an expansion. And he is going to go ahead and get down another Moonwell, and he's going to pull out a Fairy Dragon. Of course, Fairy Dragon is used for the Mana Flare mode that it can go into, which gives it a bunch of armor. And basically anytime that one of these units, hero or otherwise, casts a spell, it burns their mana or does damage to them. I think it just does damage. I don't think it burns their mana, but it does damage. So it's very nice to have in these long exaggerated fights again, because it has a very long lasting mode. And we do see there's a bat somewhere on the map for Lyn, and he wants to use the bat to blow up the Fairy Dragon. As you can see, this fight is starting. The Pocket Factory going down. The Pocket Factory doing lots of things. It does lots of little damage with those things. We can see him actually going ahead and having that stun off, using the stun. We can see that the Blade Master staying in that area pretty much a lot of this fight, not getting too many hits off without being cycloned again. Tauren Chieftain being cycloned as well. The Tinker actually stunning a Raider right there, and we can see that lots of low HP. The healing scroll from the Elf Remind being used, and we can see yet another. We can see 2 Fairy Dragons in their Mana Flare mode, and that's a lot of damage. Whenever we see any kind of dispels here, we can see what happens to those Spirit Walkers. And as you can see, there's a Windwalk right there on the Blade Master, and it got hit by this Fairy Dragon's dispel. And as you can see, there goes off onto the Torn Chieftain as well. And again, just on these guys right here. Lots of damage, lots of going off. It looks like one of the Spear Breakers dying when he went to the switch form, and it looks like this is going to be very close because a lot of these units from the Elf are very low HP right now. And he doesn't have any more kind of healing scrolls. He probably should TP out or something if he wants to save some of those. But I mean, I'm not sure he wants to save some of the, or well, I shouldn't say he should TP out, but it looks like that might have been the only way to keep some of those units alive, and they did go ahead and die anyway. The Beastmaster, very low HP, but he does have that TP, and it looks like Remind has won the fight. He's surrounded the Blade Master. The Blade Master trying to kill this the Demon Hunter. How the Demon Hunter does have an Invulpot, so if he just uses that, it should be fine. And there he goes. We might see the Beastmaster, or the Blade Master does go ahead and die. The Beastmaster was actually staffed out, and Lyn calls GG. So good game. Remind wins. That's game 1, and we'll see you in game 2. And also, before we go, I wanna show all the tabs, because I think the tabs are interesting, and I tend to show them. I show them too fast a lot of times, but there we go. There we go. So pause the video on the tabs if you're more interested in any particular tab. But yeah, I'll see you in game 2.